Welcome back to the show, and we have a conversation on the Pwalugu multi-purpose dam. But first, though, let's look at the numbers and why this dam is so very important. So the sword cutting ceremony was on November 29, 2019, some almost a few months into the 2020 election. It's been 4 years, 5 months, and of course 28 days up until now. And we'll get to see the state of affairs of the Pwalugu Dam, and then we'll hear how it, so as at the time President Akufo-Addo cut the sword for work to start in 2019. The expectation was that upon completion, it was going to be able to produce 60 megawatts of hydropower, 50 megawatts of solar power, and then also for irrigation purposes at a cost of $993 million, just some few million short of $1 billion. And then for provide reliable and stable electricity supply to the national grid, provide an irrigation scheme in the northern part of Ghana, improve water supply to the northern parts of the country, also to address the perennial flooding in the northern region caused by the heavy rains and the spillage from the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso. And it came to light during a recent Public Accounts Committee sitting that 12 million had been paid. When the auditors were asked, they said they were giving clear directives. They didn't check what the 12 million was being paid for, yet they paid, and was collaborated by the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ines Addison, who was also before the Public Accounts Committee. So the project is facing financial challenges. The Vice President said that he is determined to find the resources to complete the construction of the dam. It remains a priority for him. This was his comments a week or two ago when he visited the enclave. And of course, as you may be aware, some members on the minority, on the Mines and Energy Committee, led by the ranking member, John Jinapor, they said they will activate all the parliamentary processes to retrieve the amount of money, almost $200 million has been dashed to this contractor. Somebody must be held accountable. And he is in the studio here with me to share more lights on this developing issue. Right, so let's now come to the studio. So, John, you're welcome to the pause.
Thank you.
And so you were there over the weekend? You are just coming from the north?
Yeah.
Long journey, right?
Quite a long journey, especially off the main road.
Okay.
You know, you drive from Tamale on the way to Bolga, then you do a tear off and drive quite a distance, about 30 minutes to a village called, I think it's Gurugu.
Okay.
And then you drive another, say, 5 or 10 kilometers, then you get to the site proper. And so the team, and let me thank your team as well. Your media house was well represented. We left Tamale together and went to have a first-hand view for ourselves. Sometimes you can sit in a crowd and make all the commentary, but there are times that you need to be there physically. Speak to the people. We went to the paramount chief, spoke to the chief, spoke to some opinion leaders. The chief himself delegated some of his elders to accompany us to the site.
Right.
And so, to cut it short, we went to have a first-hand view and to see for ourselves the state of the project. So
that was the motivation, to understand what is going on there.
Absolutely. Like you said, somewhere in November 2019, right, even before the parliamentary approval, President Akufo-Addo went to the north and cut the sword for the Pwalugu Dam. And if you may allow me just to quote what he said. This is in fulfillment of the pledge the MPP government made to the people. As a campaign pledge, he had pledged that his administration would complete the Pwalugu Dam. And so almost 4 years into the election, and like you said, just entering into the 2020 election, he realized that it's not been done. So he went there with the vice president himself and cut the sword and said he's fulfilling his campaign pledge. We do not renege on our promises. That's what Akufo-Addo says. We keep them. The president pointed out, President Akufo-Addo indicated that the project will be the single largest investment ever made by any government in the northern part of the country.
Right.
So not only is he fulfilling a campaign pledge, he says that no government, apart from his government, is ever undertaking that project. So in February 2020, the agreement came to Parliament. Contrary to what the president has said, we did not find any provision in the 2020 budget. And you know the 2020 budget is ready in November 2019.
Yes.
So when he cut the short and said...
At that time, the budget had been read.
Between that time, the budget had been read. But more importantly, when the agreement came to Parliament, we then saw Power China. And we said, first of all, how come government is using its own money?
Yes, because that's what we're told.
Power China.
That this will be internally generated funds to construct the dam.
When we checked, it was disguised as a loan. Just like the Sino Hydro facility, which the vice president led, and eventually, now all of us come to the realization that it's not a barter deal, but it was a loan disguised as a so-called barter deal by the vice president. So we raised the issues, but the majority made it look as if we were trying to sabotage the project, made all kinds of issues about it. And so we raised the issues, but allow it pass. The president himself gave a deadline of 48 months, which is 4 years. He cut the short in 2019. So discount 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, end of 2023.
You should be commissioning it now.
Commissioning it by end. That is it. This is a good project. We started the feasibility in 2013. Under President Mahama, we secured funding from Agence France de Développement with technical support from the World Bank to conduct the feasibility study. We are looking at the environmental and social impact assessment and all that, which we...
So it's always been on the drawing board?
Always been on the drawing board. And the project is supposed to deal with 3 main challenges or objectives.
Right.
1, irrigation. The president himself gave all the issues. Tomato. Today, if you go to the market, I went to the market. With 20 cedi, you can get only 4 tomato pieces or whatever you call it.
You're absolutely right. I mean,
4. That's a fact.
The paint is around 200 Ghana cedis.
It's a fact. It's 2. And then, so it will boost tomato production. Rice import was supposed to decline by 16%. Sugar cane and all of that, so agriculture. The second one is the power component, electricity. 60 megawatts of hydropower and then 50 megawatts of solar power. Then the most important thing for me was to serve as a bulwark or to stop the perennial flooding from the Bagre Dam.
Right.
So for us, it was a very good project, but we felt that it was inflated. 993 million, half of it goes for just a hydro dam. If you look at Bui Dam, it was about 400 or so. So we thought that it was very well. The president was bent on getting it through, so we allowed it. 4 years down the lane, at a public accounts hearing, and this is what triggered our visit.
Exactly.
The Auditor General flags it that some payment has been made, but there's no work done. Not members of parliament, the Auditor General flags it that, look, government is made almost 12 million, because 11.949 is like 12 million. At today's exchange rate of about 16 cedi, that's about 192 million. That's a colossal amount. So the Public Accounts Committee then asked Bank of Ghana, why would you pay without verification? And the Bank of Ghana said, we are only a bank. You have money in your accounts.
Yes.
If you authorize the bank to pay, they'll pay. It's your duty, the one authorizing, to ensure that due diligence is done. And for every project, whichever stage you reach, there's a project consultant. He would inspect, certify, and indicate that the project is reached this stage, raise some payment vouchers, it goes through the system. So we started doing our checks.
And that's my difficulty. I mean, I remember one of a member on the minorities had put the question to the auditors who were there. In fact, first put the question to the governor. And the governor referred the question to the auditors. And the auditors said they were under instructions to pay. And so they wrote to the controller, and then the auditor was asked, so you didn't verify, you don't have people who will go on the ground and say that this is what we are paid for. What certificate was raised for you to release almost $12 million to somebody, and you couldn't provide any answer to that effect?
And for me, that is scandalous. I mean, $12 million, you just pay it to the company. Where is the consultant's report? Like you say, where is the certificate?
Exactly.
What's the extent of work done? So we tried to raise questions from government officials, and they were not forthcoming. VRA appeared before our committee. They couldn't give any answers. They said they were not aware of the payments. And so the minority leader then dispatched the Mines and Energy Committee that we should go there ourselves.
Before you go that and tell us, I mean, perhaps I can let my viewers appreciate what we are talking about. So this matter appeared before the Public Accounts Committee. Listen to the explanation that came from the Governor of the Bank of Ghana and the auditors who were there to assist the work of the committee.
They could give the information back to us on what was done.
Page 23, somewhere you will see final payment for construction of the Pwalugu irrigation project. Yes. Pwalugu irrigation project, final payment. Final payment for the construction of the Pwalugu irrigation project. The question is, I thought probably before payments are made, contractors present certificates, because when you get to Pwalugu, there's nothing there. There's no even a pole. There's no even a signboard. And if the contractor is taking $11 million, there's nothing. There is no even a what do we call it? Like a container. You can't even see the project site. So what certificate was presented before this money was paid? That's my question.
Let him
answer. So I want to know how that money was paid.
Yes, he will answer.
I think the amount you are referring to was paid in 2021, not 2022. And the auditors would have to tell us, because they must have cited their documentations before they wrote this report. The Auditor General, yeah, so maybe they can explain.
Auditors, could you help us out over here? It says final payment. Now, the honorable member is saying that there's nothing at that site. I'm sure when you did the audit, you saw something.
Honorable Chair, Controller instructed them to pay, and they paid. We are not aware whether the project has been completed or there's nothing ongoing.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I'm not happy with the response from the auditors, because as part of the audit, they simply don't verify payment regularities. They do in situ inspection of projects. So yes, you may be at the headquarters, but the regional officers who are closer to the project could have gone to site to ascertain that not merely paying for the project on paper, but the project has actually been delivered. So that's my first follow-up. My second one is the Pwalugu irrigation project is different from the Pwalugu multi-purpose dam. So I want to find out that this payment is not in respect of the dam, but it's actually the irrigation which says farmers. Or is the auditors? They saw the documents. Because the governor actually clarified that it's the auditors. I think the auditors are supposed to. Yes, so they should be speaking to the document, the nature of the documents that they saw. Otherwise, then, Chairman, I seek your leave to demand that the documents based upon which these payments was made should be furnished. We should be furnished a copy of the set of documents for purposes of further interrogation of this matter.
I think the auditors could review it and then give us an update on which one it is. And since it says final payment, they could give the information back to us on what was done.
Right, so welcome back to the show. So those were excerpts from the Public Accounts Committee when this matter came up. And the committee, from what we understand, is trying to get the document, the certificate that warranted the payment of almost $12 million US. We reached out to government, they said they are unable for any comments on this matter as of now. But the NDC is not allowing this matter to lie down. That's how come they went on a side visit. John Jinapop is a ranking member on the committee, and he's still with me in the studio as we try to unpack this very important matter. So, John, you heard what transpired, and I'm scandalized by the response coming from neutrals. And neutrals, I mean the Auditor General's representative who are the public committee, who facilitated the payment, yet cannot provide evidence to back whatever they have, approved for payment.
No, let me clarify something.
Okay.
What auditors do is that they come to audit your accounts. And so if they find irregularities, they will flag those irregularities. They will then demand for documentary evidence. Mm-hmm. If you're unable to provide that documentary evidence, mm-hmm. they qualify it. It's brought back, you give comments, and they give their final comments.
Right.
So it is not obligatory for auditors to necessarily visit the site. If you can't even give them documentation, there's no need visiting that site. Mm-hmm. It's when you give them documentation and say you've completed
the work,
then they may want to go and verify. But when you don't have anything to show that you've done any work, there'll be no need to go there. So I do not fault the auditors. I fault the Ministry of Finance, Agric, and the officials who directed that almost 12 million be paid to Power China International when no work is being done.
So what did you find when you went there?
So we tried to find out from the ministries why that payment is being made. What accounted for that? Mm-hmm. There was no information forthcoming. So I briefed Minority Leader, and his advice was that we should go there ourselves. Perhaps something is happening. Perhaps the project has reached a certain stage. Mm-hmm. Because even that terminology of final payment,
I don't understand what it means.
12 million cannot be final payment for 193 million.
Right.
It can only be part payments. So we set off to go there, I think this Saturday. And Joy Multimedia, your media house, you were ably represented.
But we had done a documentary on this matter.
Absolutely. And let me commend you for that. So we visited the chief, first of all. And the chief said when the Chinese contractors visited the place, they decided to evacuate their nurses from the nurses' quarters and then gave that building to them.
Okay.
Because that project was so dear to their hearts that they wanted to see that project succeed by all means. So they gave them that building. The only thing the contractor did was to buy a heap of sand, I think 2 heaps of gravel chippings. Mm-hmm. And then we counted, I think, 216 blocks at the site.
216?
16. We counted them. We took time to count all the blocks, ordinary blocks. And the chief was at pain. I mean, the chief told us that once Dr. Baumia, who hails from the region, led that initiative and came there and personally promised them, they had absolute confidence that their own will not let them down. Mm. And that's, they were not even so particular about what President Akufo-Addo said. But once they knew that their own son, a son of the soil, a son of the region, who has had the privilege of heading the economic management team and as vice president, they knew that that project would succeed. And for like 4 years, nothing was happening until recently, the Chinese contractor decided to pack and leave. And you know the sad part? When they were leaving, a private businessman in the town, they sold the blocks to him.
The 216 blocks?
Yes, they sold the gravel to him, and they sold the sand to the person. So, technically speaking, there's nothing at site. Mm-hmm. We went to the dam site where the gorge is supposed to be, where You're supposed to start the irrigation project, and absolutely nothing. So the question is, why engage in this grand deception? But more importantly, where did the $12 million go? Now the contractor has left the shores of Ghana, he's gone.
And I guess these are questions you'll be demanded from government.
Absolutely.
From Parliament's approach.
Absolutely.
But I also do remember that, I mean, during the debt restructuring exercise, after COVID and the economic meltdown that we went through, we got an explanation that the reason why the project has stalled was the fact that financing was not forthcoming.
From where?
And I mean, just like you alluded to the fact that it came as a loan in the budget in a way. Now from what, they will not go on record, but to say that last week they had an MOU from the OCC, that's the Official Creditor Committee, giving indications that they may be ready to play ball with the government. So the possibility of some stored project restarting is very high. I don't know how you react to these.
But that doesn't even restart any projects. First of all, the agreement with the creditor simply means that you owe people, you want to restructure. Either the tenure, either the principal, or the interest component, or all of, or part of it. That's what you seek to do, to give you some respite. Don't forget our debt keeps ballooning. A recent report shows that $47 million CDs in just 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge
We're
amount.
currently around 558 billion Ghana.
600 and something. That's serious. Meanwhile, we are not servicing our debt, external debt. We've suspended. It's compounding. So the next administration will have to come and deal with all these challenges. But you see, the most important, let's even assume we are having financial challenges. You're having financial challenges and you are dashing 12 million. You come and tell me, look, I want to build this house. I don't have money. Things are difficult. Only for me to realize that you've dashed the contractor 12 million and he's absconded with that money. I mean, what kind of cock and bull story is this? You cannot be serious. What work did the contractor do? Because the first thing the contractor does, either site preparation or at least construct what they call, there's a technical term, where they stay to engage in the construction.
Right.
The construction site. You will see that they will raise some temporary structures or something. I mean,
to give impression that something
that we are ready to move in. But when they go and live in nurses' quarters and only put a heap of sand and come and take 12 million from you, it's nothing but a scam.
So what would we be demanding? I mean, Parliament will be coming back in the House pretty soon.
So we would...
And again, the other question, whether you think, will this project ever see the light of day? From what you've seen
Not
so
under
far?
this administration. I mean, under this administration, they can't do it. And the Vice President says that he is committed to securing...
It remains a priority for
You
him.
have 5 months to leave office. What priority?
In the event that he becomes president.
That will not happen. That will not happen. And that must not happen. This guy should leave office, so we investigate them. This guy should leave office so that just as we were subjected to all the scrutiny, including bringing military men to our houses and dragging us out with AK-47s, we wouldn't do that. But let's subject them to scrutiny, all of them. This 12 million, somebody must answer for it. Dr. Bawumia cannot retrieve this 12 million. He would not prosecute his own. So it cannot even happen. We must not even contemplate it. Let them leave. They've had 8 years. We did the feasibility. We secured funding. We handed over to them. They've messed it up. They've shown that they don't have the take. They don't have what it takes. They don't have the goodwill. They don't have even the knowledge to deal with such projects. So clearly, what Dr. Bawumia is saying is nothing but an election gimmick, and I think that nobody should fall for that. So there are 2 strands.
Right.
Next month when we resume, we're going to file all the necessary parliamentary processes. I'll brief minority leader tomorrow, and then we'll activate the parliamentary processes. We may summon the minister, we may constitute a committee to inquire and to get the facts. But more importantly, second stage is that on assumption of office, President Mahama will call for a detailed investigation into this matter. Who raised whatever certificate, if there was none? Who authorized payment? Why did the finance minister do that? Why did the ministers do that? Who are the technical officers? Where did the money land? Even if it means engaging our Chinese counterparts,
We'll do that.
would engage them and retrieve this money and reapply it into that project.
Just 1 second. Let me bring in just 2 individuals so that I can let you go. Besori is our Upper East regional correspondent, and he accompanied the team on this site visit. Albert, you're welcome to the post.
Thank you.
Right. Also is Professor David Miller. Prof. Miller, it's good to have you here on the post. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and listeners.
So, Albert, just brief, what did you see from an independent point of view?
Right, Elton. So, in the 2022 documentary that I did, titled The Dam of Promises, we showed in the documentary that apart from the contractor's campsite, which is what Honorable was just talking about, where they housed their equipment, it was on about 2 to 3 plots of land. So they used this zinc material, the one they use in making fences. I don't know what it's called, but they had that, and they used that to fence the entire area, and they had several containers which were told housed the equipment. At the time that I first went and saw this campsite, it was in 2020, and there was only a security guard. Nobody was staying there, but these containers, which was supposed to be housing their equipment, was there. Now, when I started the production of the documentary 2022, this was in August, I visited the place. I had already heard by then that the contractor had vacated the place. And this was the only known, construction campsite that existed. There wasn't any of that anywhere else.
Okay.
So we went there and we found that, in fact, the campsite had vanished. At the time, the region, who at the time was acting as a chief, told us that he had come to say the place was getting flooded, and that is why they the equipment come back later. And then later they got information that he was moving the equipment when construction of both Kumasi. So the stories were different. But what we realized when we visited the site at the time was that there was no sign of flooding at all in the area. And this was the same place that we visited on Saturday together with the Honorable John team. And it was the same thing. The campsite was nowhere found. These chippings and the blocks that he mentioned were the ones that were there. Now, let me also just say this. After we aired the documentary in September of 2022, about a month later, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana had a demonstration on this Pwalugu multi-purpose dam. They had this demonstration in the Northeast region, specifically at Naleru. Now, before the demonstration, they also visited the same place. And this was when it first came to light that the chippings and the blocks had been sold. This is what the committee members told the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana leaders when they visited the site. So in the course of my work on this, the only thing that we know has been done as far as the construction is concerned is stakeholder consultations. They had a number of stakeholder meetings in Bolga. I remember 2 of them. One of them was held at the conference hall of the Regional Coordinating Council, and another one was held at a hotel here called Tap Hotel. Then there were community engagement. So in the documentary, when we spoke to farmers in Pwalugu and Kurugu, where this campsite is, the visuals you are seeing are from a community called Kurugu. And this is where the contractor was located. Now, Kurugu is located in the Northeast region. And what we are told is that just after all the mapping and the survey they did, they realized that the dam itself could not be located in Pwalugu, but it would be in Kurugu and some other villages around the Northeast region. And that is why the contractor was staying there and doing his work. So the farmers in Pwalugu told us that they had come there, met with them. Some they even mapped their lands, took photocopies of their land documents to prepare them for when their lands were supposed to be taken from them as part of the construction. So this is what we know the government did as far as the construction of the dam was concerned. Now there's another community also in the northeast region called Sarba. In that community, they had a building which we were told was supposed to help in the take-up of the irrigation component of the dam.
Right.
But that building also was not completed. It was built, roofed, but there wasn't much finishing. It was overgrown with weeds, and the contractor had also left the place. So in our recent visit, absolutely nothing had changed. The same things I saw there in 2022 were the very same things we saw when we visited last time.
And my final question will be, I know that you've been trying to get answers, especially from the VRA. Any success in that?
So for the VRA, they had appointed a PRO who was acting until, who was speaking for them on issues of the dam. But at the time that we were doing the documentary, he told us he had moved from VRA to another institution and was no longer working for them. So since then, we've not been able to know who particularly speak to from the side of the VRA. We've tried to make contact, but we haven't been able to get in terms of getting answers.
All right, thank you very much, Albert. Sorry, it's our Upper East Regional Correspondent. David Miller is president of the Miller Institute for Transdisciplinary and Development Studies. So, David, Prof, you've been listening to our correspondent. You've also heard the on-site report from the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee. What is your reading of what is happening?
Thank you. My reading is a very simple one. There is a facility, God-given facility, that we could use to inure to the development of our country. Very strategic, and based on my analysis, with a far-reaching benefits than the negatives. But here we are trying to resolve or to maximize the use of the facility in a political domain. And for me, it's the politics that is limiting the realization of this dream. Why do I say so? I've heard Honorable Jinapor lament about some malfeasance or some misapplications of funds. Be that as it may, since when did we start blowing the whistle that this was happening? For me, I had to do a bit of the stakeholder consultation as a consultancy in 2021. And I did highlight, my report is still here. First of all, I blew the drums that the project is at Pwalugu and not Pwalugu. And the additional designs that have been built in are quite rewarding, but none of them would benefit Upper East. So that was my critical role. Now, beyond that, I did demonstrate quite clearly that nothing is happening there and nothing has happened there. I thought that the opposition, which was then NDC, would start doing the whistleblowing or doing the countervailing. But we sat there whilst NPP kept saying they were investing and they were developing. We could have interrupted that thing very early. I must say, as I sit here as an expert, I don't know the cost of the dam.
Government in 2019 gave a figure of almost $1 billion.
And I'm saying that that dam has been revised twice over. In fact, the dam size has been reduced, the height has been reduced, and the technical document shows that, therefore, the cost will be lower. As to how low it is, I don't know.
Are you able to tell us who put together this cost?
Which cost?
You said that the cost has lowered, and I'm asking based on what?
I'm saying the new design, the redesign. In fact, the one I think that propelled the actions that MPP is referring to. The height has been reduced by 5 meters. And every technical person will tell you that once you reduce the height of the dam, the cost would change. Now, it was meant to be first hydro and then agriculture and flood management and so on. The redesign has changed the thing around, and it's first agro and then hydro and flood and so on. So even the emphasis changed in the latest design.
Right.
But I'm saying that I don't know how much the cost vary. And I think that the auditors and the Bank of Ghana should do us some help by coming out with the actual figures. So the conspiracy theories will be managed.
Yes, Prof. Miller, if you can hold it for me. John Jinapol has a quick intervention here.
Prof.
Yeah.
Well, he was my lecturer, so I was your student. But first of all, Prof, nobody can go ahead and implement that project by changing it without recourse to Parliament. It will be illegal. Parliament has approved the scope of work. We've approved certain estimates. We expect certain benefits. And so if the MPP goes to sit somewhere and decides to change the scope of work and change figures, they must come to Parliament and seek approval. Without that, what Parliament has approved stands and nothing else. So I'll plead with you, let's stick to what we've officially approved. If they find it necessary that there should be some modification, they can come to Parliament. We will discuss that.
No,
yes, Prof.
What I'm saying is that the technical document I had to work with as a consultant indicated that the EU had disagreed with the social and environmental impact of the dam and has suggested a redesign. I'm talking about more recent, but I haven't gone the way of costs. I'm only saying what the technical document was saying to me.
And he's saying that this document is alien to Parliament. They can only work with what was approved in the House.
Granted, granted, there are a lot of things that have been alien to Parliament, and yet people run with them. we hear them every day, we read them every day. So I believe you.
Okay.
But it's not out of the ordinary. I'm just telling you what I have by way of a technical document. My bottom line is that both political groups have let the North down. They've disappointed us. The policeman role to be played by NDC wasn't played. And the implementation role, like my good brother Albaisore has said, by MPP hasn't also happened. The thing hasn't been happened. The policeman role or the whistleblower role was not there. Until now. Until now. So I think that for me, I've been preoccupied with concerns about the way forward.
Let me correct something.
And I've designed, I made suggestions to the fact that the two roles should be very clear, both the role of the incumbent government and its opposition. We should charge them jointly and collectively responsible for this facility. But that has been my role.
Just a quick question so that I can allow John Jinapol to come because he has another intervention. When you hear that $12 million has been paid to the contractor, and we don't even have the reasons behind the payment, what conclusion can you possibly come to?
Well, if you tell me that is a conclusive payment, it means there are earlier payments before that.
Yes, and they describe it as final.
Yeah, if they say this is final, then a lot more has been paid before. And if you ask me, I can give you a guesstimate, but I don't want to go there. I'm saying that a lot has been paid more than twice
12 million.
The 2 million.
More than the $12 million?
Yes, more.
Wow.
Because I was a consultant and I was paid.
You were paid for doing what?
For doing the stakeholder consultations. No. That's how I started. So I did
Prof, we have no problem with that.
John.
Prof, your payment, I have no problem with that. You did your work, so it's not an issue for me. But if you were to read the parliamentary reports Every year we debated this matter in Parliament. Every year we raised it in Parliament. And anytime VRA appeared...
Honestly, the debates don't go far enough.
Let me deal with that, Prof.
Prof, if you can allow John just a second. Prof, you can allow John a second, and then I'll allow you.
Yeah, Prof is talking about forensic investigation, but let me learn that every year, if you read our reports, we deal with that. What has heightened this is the fact that there appear to be some financial loss to the state.
Right.
Projects, you conceptualize projects, sometimes maybe because of unforeseen circumstances, you are unable to fulfill that. I mean, you can't hold government entirely responsible. And so to say that we should hold government responsible, even if government doesn't have the money to do it, still insist that they do it, you could do that, but you have to be careful. But when government appears to be wasting the money, then the ball game is changed. And this was captured in the Auditor General's report.
Right.
They paid this money in a clandestine manner with a high level of opacity. It is only the audit that has unearthed this. And that is why the Public Accounts Committee took it up, and that's why we've also taken it up. So we are dealing with two strands. Completion of project, we can deal with that. Right. Government might say that we're expecting funds are not coming, because you budget, you may not get it. But when you waste the money, you throw the money away, and now we are even hearing that it's more than the $12 million. That raises serious concerns. And I agree with you, Prof, that we need a forensic audit. But this forensic audit can only be commissioned by the government. The opposition cannot commission a forensic audit. That is why I hold the view that Dr. Bawumia and the MPP must leave. When President Mahama assumes office, we would commission this forensic audit, and whoever is found culpable, whoever is found liable, I bet you, Prof, we will deal with that person mercilessly.
Prof, so I mean, as we wrap up on the conversation, I mean, the importance of this project, everybody accepts that it is the best. I mean, projects designed to generate electricity, hydropower, solar, irrigation issues, and to deal with the flooding. Clearly, I mean, nobody can dispute that. So what should be the way forward as we progress on this conversation? Are we likely to see this done, or we should just wish it off?
My brother, let's do a two-pronged approach.
Right.
Those who have the powers and the ability to do the financials should go ahead. And then we, those who are not financially sound in financial matters, should also continue with our advocacies. My recent document shows that it's to benefit 7 regions. 7 regions, not 2. Upper East, Upper West, Northwest, Savannah, Northern, Oti, and Brown Afo. You know, what the project document did was to design the water that is used for irrigation. They haven't designed the flow after irrigation, what we call wastewater. That has ability to do more than twice the irrigation that was intended. And I'm putting together an advocacy document that shows why we should all show concern about this project. Don't leave it for the North alone. It's not only the North that will be turned around. All these 7 regions will be turned around by that single project.
All right.
Prof, based on your intervention, it does then appear that government rushed to Parliament and that the actual proper work had not been done. And so it will look like elections was approaching, and then they rushed to Parliament, went and commissioned or cut the sword, when, like you are saying, the tailwater had not even been addressed. And I thought that that should be an area that people like you would guide us going forward, so that the politicians don't just come because of politics. They rush to go and cut sword even when Parliament has not approved the contract. The president cut the sword in 2019. The agreement was approved in February 2020. So, for all intents and purposes, the government never meant and never had any goodwill in terms of delivering on this promise.
So, Prof, briefly on that so that we can wrap up on this.
May I conclude?
Yes, please do.
My conclusion, like I said, is that John and his team do the auditing and all those things, do the financials. But I'm positioning myself to provide that documentation that will inform the way forward.
And it appears
To
you have
him-
more. It appears you have more information than even what is in the public domain, including how much has been paid, which for you is more than even the $12 million.
Yes, if somebody tells you that 12 million is the last payment, I mean, it's simple. It's not rocket science to know that earlier some more has been paid.
How much, if you know? How much, if you're able to
But
tell us?
I'm positioning myself to provide information, technical information, not the financials. I don't know that one.
All right.
But the technical information to share the import of this dam for Ghana as a whole, and for the 7 regions in particular, such that when it is being debated in Parliament, those from Brown Harford will see their benefits in there, OT would see, Savannah will see, and all the other regions that I've mentioned.
All right.
And then we'll go forward. And I believe, yours truly, that this project should happen. Whoever government comes into power, please let this happen.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor.
At whatever cost,
of
let
course.
it happen.
Professor David Miller, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Let me come back to the studio. John, so we've heard so much. I mean, I thought we were operating with $12 million. Now it appears we have to dig more and unearth more. So, way forward.
What I can foresee is that then you have a lot more people to deal with, because based on what Prof. Miller is saying, it appears to be even a grand deception, because you ought to do the feasibility work, certain what you intend doing before you proceed. But when you've not even finished that and you rush to Parliament, then you are hoodwinking and deceiving Parliament. Going forward, we must immediately retrieve all these monies paid. That's the first thing. Secondly, we must take a breather and relook the whole project. Look at how we can cut costs. You can do the same thing in an efficient way by reducing the wasteful expenditure. And I'm sure that if we do that, we can bring down the cost. Thirdly, we should involve a lot more local engineers. I think that we have the capacity.
Is the VRA not enough?
The VRA is the technical implementer. And like I told you, anytime we meet them, this issue that this current administration, with President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia in charge, there will be no value for money, to be a wasteful expenditure, and they can simply not deliver, because they do not know what it takes to deliver on such projects.
So we should be assured that the committee will hold before it the relevant ministers and agencies, or it's going to be, an urgent question on the floor for answers to come?
Absolutely. Be assured that the committee and Parliament will take the necessary step. I have confidence in our chairman, Honorable Tachian. He's quite level-headed,
Right.
He's quite independent. And sometimes when he sees what is wrong, even with his political coloration, he does the right thing. I'm also very proud of the Navrongo Central MP. I'll be missing him in the next Parliament. I hope that his replacement will be as thorough and as hardworking as he is. Right. He read the documents and brought these issues up. And that's what we members of Parliament ought to be doing.
Right.
Our duty is to go into the matter, investigate it, and bring out the issues. So we'll continue to do our work.
Before I let you go, just one quick question. Somebody just sent me a text. You just want to find out. The Mines and Energy Committee, you have a lot on your hands, a few months to the elections. It says government released a KPMG estimate report. You had indicated that we're going to go into it. What is the status of that?
Yeah, we're reporting on that. And there are more revelations, very damning revelations. And so we intend to do a media engagement. We're supposed to do it this week, but these issues, a lot of scandals keep coming. Wednesday, I have one on tallow as well. The award of a contract of about $200 million and the sole sourcing, even though it was awarded by
tallow.
Tallow awarded it, but we have serious reservations with the way and manner the contract was awarded. And so,
tallow awarded the contract to an entity?
Yes. And that's sole sourcing. And we have serious challenges with that. We're going to deal with that. We are writing to tallow themselves, and we'll address that issue. We also have issues with the way oil is being procured for our thermal plants. It does appear that some huge arrears have been accumulated for the Mahama government to inherit under very opaque circumstances. We intend to deal with that.
And this is for power generation?
It is for power generation. So we have quite a lot of work to do. Yeah. But we'll try and take all of them. And when we resume in Parliament, this Pwalugu scandal will feature in Parliament.
But and then last week, Friday, we're privy to a communication that came from the MPA inviting another company, H-Field, to do a presentation on what appears to be the same thing being done in the petroleum downstream by SML.
Absolutely. And we've sent a signal to MPA. And my message is simple. Don't try anything funny. The systems in place are
you aware of this company?
I'm aware. We've sent a signal to Mustafa. Don't, and I mean don't. Don't try anything funny because we wouldn't tolerate that, wouldn't countenance that. The systems currently are robust enough. If it needs tweaking in-house, you can deal with that. Secondly, even if you want a solution, it should be a holistic solution.
Right.
All the agencies, GRA, MPA, BOST, all of them, including the BDCs, we must sit together and fashion out a framework that will serve everybody's interests. This pocket of isolated attempts to sign last-minute contracts and last-minute deals, we will resist them. There are a lot of them coming up, not just in the energy sector. Several areas. People are trying to sign
my concern is that the comments...
6-year contracts.
Yeah.
We won't tolerate.
My concern is the earlier comments that came from the MPA when this SML came up, that it was a duplication. If it was, then why even open the space for
That's why I said they shouldn't
players?
try it. Because before our committee, we visited the MPA head office. And they told us clearly that the SML contract was a duplication. It's on record. And that their system was robust enough to provide GRA with all the information they required. So what has changed? All of a sudden, that robust system, are you telling us it's no longer robust? Please, if you're watching this program, a friend is watching, tell the MPA boss that I say don't. Simple.
John Jinapor is a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, and more coming your way here on the pause. We'll take a short break. When we return, the Attorney General must resign. That's the view of a former director of the Ghana School of Law, a veteran law lecturer, and himself a private legal practitioner, Professor Ansan Asare. It follows allegations that the Attorney General may have coerced a witness in the ongoing trial of the minority leader, KCL Atto, and we have more details for you when we return. Welcome back to the pause here on Joy News with me, Elton Brobe. Now, to another very controversial matter that, hit the airwaves last week is still a raging matter. The Attorney General must resign. That's the view of a former director of the Ghana School of Law, a veteran law lecturer, and himself a private legal practitioner, Professor Ansan Asare. It follows allegations that the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Adame, asked an accused person in the trial of Dr. KCL Atto to incriminate the minority leader. The Attorney General has denied any wrongdoing in a meeting with the accused Richard Dakwa, a businessman. A private legal practitioner and law lecturer, Dr. Justice Rimside, is calling for a commission of inquiry or a special parliamentary probe into the allegation. But Professor Ansan Asare believes the AG must be working already. All right, so let me bring in Professor Ansan Asare. Prof, it's a pleasure to have you here on the pause. Yes, Prof, it's a pleasure to have you here on the pause. You are quite clear and emphatic that the AG must go. Why?
First of all, let me make a small correction. I'm Mr. I'm not Mr. Okay, so I'm asking the Attorney General to resign because from the report published in the Wayne Guide of it seems to me that he has compromised himself. He had no business being in the house of the Justice of the Supreme Court in response to an arranged meeting with accused persons in that house. Secondly, as Attorney General, he knows the scope of his responsibility. Now, in a plea-bargaining transaction, usually it is the Director of Public Prosecution who discharges or performs that function. The Attorney General is assisted by 2 deputies.
Right.
And in such a sensitive criminal trial, the criminal justice system requires the Attorney General to be above board. For him to accept an invitation to meet accused persons in the house of a sitting justice of the Supreme Court.
Right.
It stinks. And I don't think that the Attorney General, can remain in office and, participate in whatever inquiry that, the president will set up. In any case, I have no confidence in any presidential commission.
But Prof, are we not getting ahead of ourselves?
I mean, you can have several commissions of inquiry. Nothing good will come out of it. But because I know what the plea bargaining process is all about, I'm saying that the Attorney General ought not to have done what he did. If he wanted to be above board, he could have been accompanied by the Director of Public Prosecution or by one of his deputies or the prosecutor himself, the accused persons and their lawyers. But this was a very clandestine meeting. At which he was recorded. If he didn't know, he might have been aware that he was being recorded. But from the account of the report, I'm convinced that he saw it.
No, all right, Prof, if I may come in, Prof, sorry for bargaining. So are we not getting ahead of ourselves? We may not be privy to the entire facts as to whether the AG went there voluntarily or he was invited or he was ambushed in the process. These facts are yet to come out.
Only a naive person will do what the Attorney General did. And I don't think he's a naive person. You see, that's why I said, as Attorney General, he ought to have realized that accepting such an invitation would be tantamount to his downfall. He accepted it. He alone knew why they didn't accept it. And if the act has fallen, it has fallen. He must go. He has compromised himself. He cannot go to our court, a court of law and equity. He who comes to equity must come cleaner. Once he comes at tainted, he cannot come to equity. And therefore, coming to equity through the common law, equity follows the law. But weapon, it will not follow the law if it's not too much. He has to know it. I respect it. He's done, his best. The time has come for him to go. Just like Austin Emita had to go in a similar plea bargaining deal. Such deals always melt. I mean, it depends on how you go about. The Attorney General has gone about it in a rather scandalous manner. And
what about the Supreme Court judge who may have extended the invitation?
He remains undisclosed. So, I mean, I don't know. But if it is true that the meeting took place at the house of the sitting Supreme Court judge,
right.
Imagine the Chief Justice, should get the ball rolling. The president has the right to the Chief Justice, but let us wait until we know who this Supreme Court judge. Maybe it's not just like you call me a professor. I'm not a professor. So maybe a magistrate who is being referred to as sitting justice of the Supreme Court. When we get to that, we know how to process. We haven't reached the bridge yet.
And again, the other issue is about the impact this will have, or this should have, on the substantive case in court. The substantive case is about allegation of causing financial loss to the state leveled against the minority leader. The other matter, probably, a case of misconduct. Can these two cases be on their own without conflicting, or this muddies the waters even more?
I don't think we should make up the two. They are quite different, separate and distinct. The curtailing the ongoing criminal trial merely because the Attorney General has compromised himself, to me, it's not a solution. It would rather be a solution instead of a problem. What we have to do is to make sure that the Attorney General, leave the team, the Director of Public Prosecution to take over, because the Attorney General's office do the steps, and therefore both deputies, whether they are involved or ought not to go in close, the trial process at all, because the Attorney General is pushing everything. So the Director of Public Security, must be the person to pursue the further prosecution of the case.
Right.
For me, the Attorney General must be tried himself. The Attorney General has to be tried. Not only must he resign, but he be tried.
And then
this government has been engulfed by scandal upon scandal. And the time has come for the general public not to appear to be doing anything by way of damage control. That let us use the newspapers and the media to repair what is an obvious scandal. We shouldn't do that. We should allow. I don't think the president had the political will, to ask the Attorney General to resign. I am asking the Attorney General to resign. He says his own reputation. The president won't do it. And if the president will do this at all, he will tell the matter, the Attorney General's best friend, is here just the special prosecutor, and the rest will be, in history. That's all. That's what the glamour we are going to have.
All right. And
so, if the Attorney General doesn't resign and the president doesn't start him, the media, the fourth estate, must write that. That's all. And because but the way we have started, it's like we want to get up the matter and kill the scene of the Attorney General.
All right.
We are entering the 2030.
I get you. And then finally, do you support the NDC? They've announced a news conference tomorrow to make public this secret recording. Do you support it being made public?
Sure. Why not? As director of the law school, I was tried by the Court of Public Opinion with television and as a director of the law school who had done nothing. Then the Attorney General, do I support it or not? The Attorney General's office is greater than the office of the director of the law school. So I support it, not because I was once a victim, but because the truth must come out.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Cesare, former director of the Ghana School of Law, a veteran, media practitioner, and now into private practice. And of course, the NDC, they've announced that tomorrow they hold a news conference in the afternoon to bring to the public domain evidence they claim implicates the Attorney General in his attempt to coerce a witness in the ongoing trial of the minority leader, Kesala Toforsem, in the ambulance case, which the minority leader is accused of causing financial loss to the state. So tomorrow, they say that they'll put this evidence out. And this evidence, for what we have been told, is a secret recording that took place in the home of a sitting Supreme Court judge between this Supreme Court judge, the Attorney General Godfrey Adamim, and of course, Mr. Jakpa, who is one of the accused persons in the ambulance matter. So we'll all look forward to this matter tomorrow. My understanding is also that the Attorney General, they have their own set of evidence they'll be putting forth tomorrow. So tomorrow clearly is something that you cannot miss here on the Pulse on Joy News. But away from that, the PLC March 2024 validation report has revealed that the Electricity Company of Ghana has for the first time complied fully with payment to energy sector players under the cash waterfall mechanism. According to the report, ECG recorded revenue worth more than 1 billion cedis in March 2024 and has made payment to sector players, including independent power producers. The Joy News Research Desk has been combing through the report, and as Kofi Aje joins me in studio. Kofi, this will be good news.
Some good news, but there's an element of one other player not also complying with what they are supposed to do under the cash waterfall mechanism. So it's a mixed bag of...
So this is March 2024?
Yeah, March 2024.
We are here to see April, May.
Yeah.
So let's talk about March.
In fact, what's positive about March is the fact that for the first time since November 2023, we are seeing ECG's revenue collected in that month exceeding 1 billion Ghana cedis. approximately 1.003 billion cedis, and this is significant, yeah, compared to the previous figure that they recorded somewhere, February 2023. If you do the math, that's about 20% increase.
Is anything accounted for this?
Well, the PRC doesn't really state the reason, but we know that ECG has faced some backlash in terms of their revenue collection. Right. We know that they were supposed to merge their 62 accounts to one single account for consolidation. If they've done all of these things and the backlash and also the PRC's orders that they gave them, if they are followed, then we think that they can be the reason why we may have such high revenue inflow. And this time out, usually what happens is that they share this money under the cash waterfall mechanism amongst the sector players, the level A and the level B. And you saw the utility workers saying that ECG is giving too much preference to the IPPs.
And the IPP constitutes the level A?
The level A. So the independent power producers are the ones, Sonon Asogli, the Send Power and all of those guys are the IPPs. They produce our thermal power. It's about 64% of our dependable capacity. Now, the level B are usually SOEs, state-owned enterprise,
VRA, Gridco.
And ECG itself is included in this mix. And they've been complaining that in terms of the disbursement to the level B, ECG has not really been complying. But what is the case? Under the cash waterfall mechanism, it is anticipated or estimated that always there will be shortfalls.
Right.
And this year, the total shortfall is around 23 billion Ghana cedis. And we expect the finance ministry to come in to do this, what they call the top-up payment.
Right.
And since August 2023, finance ministry has never, August 2023 to March 2024, they've not paid a single amount to the cash waterfall mechanism to support the...
So this amount that finance ministry is expected to pay is to complement what is collected by ECG?
Yes. Complement it, and then also to make sure that the cash waterfall mechanism or the energy sector doesn't accrue debt going forward. Under the IMF program, that's one of the big responsibility of government. They've seen that the energy sector is a debt-making machine.
Right.
And if you're able to stop it, government will have that fiscal space to breathe. So going forward, what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to prevent the accumulation of additional debt by the finance ministry coming
also making their contribution.
Yes, but we know that they have faced challenges in terms of getting liquidity because there's no bonds market at the moment, no international capital market. The only market probably the finance ministry is relying heavily on is the T-bills, and that's a bit shallow at the moment, looking at the current rate, which is no longer attractive. And so we've been doing a calculation.
Right.
About $1.4 billion, billion Ghana cedis is
collected by ECG.
Is how much the finance ministry is owing under the cash waterfall mechanism since August 2023.
August to March. To the end of March 2023.
That's the amount they are supposed to pay, but they've not paid.
And the implications of this is what?
Yes, I mean, the payment that's supposed to be done by the finance ministry is the one that we are supposed to use to help with the fuel purchases. We are learning for the first time from this report that WAPCO has been added to the level B players, meaning that WAPCO is now being treated as, with priority. And they were paid $4 million under the current report, which means that going forward, they have to continue making some of these payments. So long as you use their pipelines and their natural gas, you need to pay. And the finance ministry must come in to do the payment. They've been separated from the VRA. Now WAPCO is an existing independent body and is captured under the level B category.
So how was this 1.3 billion distributed?
If you look at the 1.3 billion, about the significant portion, always that's the case, about
went to the IPP.
The IPP, 620 million Ghana cedis. That's about $43 million went to the IPP.
But I'm curious to know, last week we were told by the finance minister that they've made $400 million payment to the IPPs. Is it outside of this?
Well, $400 million is from the second tranche we got from the IMF.
Okay.
So it's not the finance minister who is even saying this for the first time. The governor also said that significant portion of that 600 million we received from the IMF, the second tranche, was used to pay energy sector debt.
It's actually consumed by the energy bills.
Exactly. That's why I said initially that the IMF is aware that the energy sector is a debt-making machine. If you leave it like that, it can generate about $2 billion of debt every year, and you need to stop it. That is why they don't want arrears to be accumulated, because the more they accumulate, the more they attract interest. So the IMF is, targeting it as a priority, and then they want to make sure that they clear that space. And going forward, entities like the Finance Ministry must come in to make sure that they do their top-up payments and we do not go forward with additional debts. But now they are doing the same thing they are not supposed to do, and they owe close to $140 million.
So under the circumstances, we expect the SOEs to be at least happy.
Yes.
As far as March is
concerned. Yes, March is concerned. This is the first time SOEs are being paid what they are due in full. I watched the table and I was surprised to see the variance side is zero. I mean, there's no SOE that has not been paid the full amount. Each of the SOEs under the cash waterfall mechanism have been paid what they are due, and this is good news out there.
Is there a recommendation going forward so that this is sustained?
Yeah, I mean, PRC doesn't give you outright recommendations, but what they say is that entities like the Finance Ministry who are owing and who are not doing their responsibility, they keep on issuing letters to them, trying to see when they will make that payment. They've been issuing that letter since August. It's more or less like a template. It's always in their, their validation report. The same wording and everything is there, and the Finance Ministry is not paying attention to it, and possibly it could be the reason why we may have certain challenges going forward. They need to come in to plug the holes in terms of the energy sector shortfalls. 23 billion Ghana cedis for the entire year is no joke.
It's no joke. And finally, before you go, you conclude that in terms of the PRC issues with VCG on the cash waterfall mechanism, this completely answers that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is good news. I mean, let me just say that it's good news, especially for the state-owned enterprises. The first time they are being paid, especially after the public utility sector workers complain that give priority to the sector B players. There's Bui there, there's Gridco, of course, was also supposed to do the transmission. All of these guys were being owed. And this time around, ECG has paid everybody. The good news is that they were also able to collect enough to pay
within the period.
Within the period, over 1 billion Ghana cedis is significant.
That's some good news, and of course, that's from the energy decks. Now, I mean, a story that's, battling her own allergies. Ivy Ayonam found relief in the greenery of her home. And we have that story coming your way pretty soon here on Joy News. Take a short break and we'll be back. Right, this is a pause here on Joy News. Now let's deal with some other health-related stories. And now, battling her own allergies, Ivy Enyonam found relief in the greenery of her home. Now, though her program Sip and Soil, she's on a mission to spread the lifty gospel, teaching others in a fun and engaging way how indoor plants can combat air pollution. Clean Air Beat reporter Michael Ashale has more in the following report.
Cocktails, plants, and painting. Really, what do they have in common? I'm not sure I know, but a Ghanaian is taking on that daunting task to find the middle ground. She's trying to link all three to air quality. In a plush restaurant in the heart of Accra, music fills the air. Over 24 patrons are seated, but not for a meal. Instead of cutlery sets, they hold paint brushes. With each stroke, they transform their flower pots into remarkable pieces.
I am looking for ways to encourage people and to educate people about clean air.
After trying so many therapies to deal with her spontaneous allergies without success, Ivy Enyonam Kufe settled on a rather unconventional therapy: indoor plants.
I have a history of asthma. These days I don't have asthma anymore. I still have a little bit of allergies, but it's no longer severe, and it's only when I am close to something I'm allergic to. But for me, it all started with plants. Now, when I started with plants, I thought, oh, I want something that will clean my air. And I went online because my air was bad, and so I was always sick. So I went online and saw plants that can clean your air. And that's how I started.
Indoor air pollutants are everyday substances that can affect the air quality at home. These include dust, pet dander, mold, and chemicals from cleaning products or furniture, smoke from cooking, as well as gas from heaters or stoves. These pollutants can potentially cause allergies, asthma, and other health problems.
When you have an electrical outlet in your house and it gets so hot, there's this particular scent that comes out. That's ozone. When they get into your body, they just attack anything. So plants are able to absorb these free radicals.
Dr. Gladys Ode Shringa is a plant taxonomist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Despite the limited evidence supporting the air purifying effect of indoor plants, she remains convinced otherwise.
Yes, there are studies that have gone on that would say these are not substantiated and all, but pockets of studies have also shown that particular plants absorb particular air pollutants. So depending on what exactly you are trying to curb. But generally, if you want fresh air, having plants indoor will be a great thing. Each plant may be able to absorb certain pollutants. So variety is the spice of life. When you have different types, then you be able to take care of most of your indoor pollutions.
Ghana is the 6th most polluted country on the continent according to the 2023 Annual World Air Quality Report. Ivy Enyonam looks forward to the day when everyone will be concerned about the air they breathe, so that from person to person, home after home, community to community, we will passionately spread the word and inspire others to prioritize air quality.
There's going to be a nationwide tour. There are going to be some stunts pulling in Accra as well. And there are going to be more workshops. And I'm not going to stop until there's every plant or there's a plant in every space.
Sip and Soil, a fun and intuitive way to teach the next generation of plant lovers.
This is literally my first pot that I've painted and I'm very proud of.
Actress Adoma has accepted the challenge.
So proud of myself, so you have no idea.
For 3 months?
Yeah, since February. They've been crying out of the pot. So before, in a week, I killed a cactus. That should tell you something. I killed a cactus. It's very necessary because at this rate, we might not have a Ghana in a few years. If we keep cutting, please let's not cut trees. If we keep cutting trees and not, caring about plants, yeah.
Bright Agbetise is with the Ghana Think, a youth-focused professional group.
So we know the plants around us, they take the bad air and give us a good air. So we are also very much interested in plants because if you're able to have plants within your space, probably your home, your room, what it does is that within that space that you have the plants, it cleans the air.
In the quest for cleaner air, nurturing indoor plants can be a powerful ally, bringing the purifying touch of nature into our homes. This story was a collaboration with New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund. The funder had no say in the content of the story.
For Ivy and her friends, this is just the beginning. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
All right, so now let's talk about agriculture, because an initiative making a significant impact in the agricultural sector through the empowerment of young girls. This initiative aims to bridge the gender gap in agriculture by providing opportunities to young girls, enabling them to become future leaders in this vital industry. Ayonam is also of the Ghanaian farmer on Joy Prime and joins me in the studio. Ayonam, you're welcome. I've always been watching you on TV, talking agri here and there.
Really?
Today, we are here. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
and I must congratulate you. You're doing a fantastic job in agriculture. How do you see people of your kind take up this role and you are impacting so many people?
I know.
And I want to bring in young people into this space. Why?
So this whole initiative of going into farming, telling the stories of farmers, started 2020 because growing up, I would cry my eyes out if my dad says, come and let's go to the farm. And so today when he sees me, you know, all over the bush, and he's like, is this you or it's not you? I said,
you in the north. I said, wow. The ambition is too great.
Exactly. I say I'm the one because farmers have done a lot. When we talk about sectors that create most employment, agriculture is one of them.
Right.
However, little is said about the effort they make, not to talk about highlighting the plight of these farmers. So a journalist and a communicator, I decided to carve a niche for myself and make farmers' case my personal case. And that's how far we've come. Now, 4 years into the journey, a lot of both young men, young women would emboss you with different requests.
Right.
Either I want to go into farming, but I don't know what to plant, or I have the land, I don't have the resources, or I have the resources, but I don't have the knowledge. How can you help me? Or there are those who are home and don't have a job. They are desperate. They are, you know, having issues with government institutions.
Exactly.
I'm a graduate. I don't have a job to do and all that. It would, I don't know if you saw this, but some weeks ago, we even had college graduates from agri colleges who said they were going to call press conference because there's no job or state farms
Can you imagine?
to employ them.
Yeah.
So I was like, why should it be so? Because I'm making a living from agriculture when I haven't studied agriculture.
Right.
So Count on Crops is the mother company that produces the Ghanaian farmer for these 4 years. And so in the 4th year, we realized that the requests that are coming are so many. Now, if we want partners, especially like donors, to support us roll out initiative, we would need an NGO. And so we had to register YOVDO, Young Farmers Development Organization. And at YOVDO, we have a lot of initiatives we want to run. And one of them is Agric for Girls. Agric for Girls because among the SDGs, we are looking at eradicating poverty. That's goal 1. How would we eradicate poverty in the absence of jobs? So we want to partner or look for young women who are passionate, looking forward to exploring opportunities, but they do not know how to go about it, to introduce them to these opportunities. For instance, like what I do, social agriculturist.
Right.
I go into farm, I talk to farmers. Through that, I also started farming myself. I make a living from posting, you know, fertilizer for a certain company. I post seed for a certain company. People would call you, hey, come by my farm and promote me. And you earn a living. I'm not just holding a smartphone for the beauty of it, but this is what put food on my table.
Exactly.
So I want to train other young women to do a job like this. Yes. And then there are other components, like those who will train them to start mushroom. Mushroom, you don't need a big space. With a little space, you can start your mushroom farming.
So what's been the interest? What has been the interest?
So,
are people showing so much interest in this?
It's been amazing. Ever since we even dropped the flyer to go and discuss dates and who should we meet and all that, the interest has been overwhelming. A lot of people are expressing interest, and you know, this is what I've been looking forward to. How can you help me start something? Because for a very long time, a lot of young people thought farming is all about the cutlass and the hoe. But it goes beyond that. There are aggregators, there are social agriculture like me, there are those who are doing value addition, marketing. So why don't you find a niche for yourself and make a living than staying home and getting frustrated?
So clear that there's future for farming.
Exactly. There's a big future for farming. If you're out there and you still don't know what to do in the area of agric, you want to look for the Ghanaian farmer across all social media platform, the Ghanaian farmer. There is only one Ghanaian farmer in Ghana.
Of course.
And that is me.
Of course.
So just look for me.
Undisputed.
That's it.
Undisputed.
So just look for me or come Wednesday, 29th of May, let's meet at ISA Conference Hall at Legon, 9 a.m. prompt. You'd be meeting the overall national best farmer, woman farmer, the woman who won recently, Madam Charity Akotia. She'll be there to share her journey, how she started from 1 acre, and today she's been crowned the overall winner. She'll teach you how to go about it, exactly. We'll have the Deputy Agric Minister, Honorable Yofrem Ado. We have Timanke. She is also the owner of NBC Africa. She also has an organization that has so much love for young women. She would be there as well. And of course, our very own Dr. Naba, who used to be with peasant farmers. Now he is heading Ekuafun Ketwa. He works with a lot of women. So we brought him on board to also come and encourage, empower these young women and help them to know what they can do in the area of agri.
So who are you targeting? Is it open to everybody?
So it's young women between the age of 18 all the way to 35 or 40, we might consider. Yes, and so when you come, we have 5 dimensions, like I had mentioned. We are looking at the agribusinesses that doesn't demand a lot of funding for you to do, like, you know, the mushroom thing, the social agriculture, or your smartphone, buying and selling from farmers. You just have to create a brand on digital media. That is your office. That's your marketplace. Get a list of what you want to buy this weekend. I'll shop for you. Drop it at your doorstep. Pay me and let me go. That's my business. Then we have
there's so many areas.
That's a lot.
It's not just about
that's a lot. Agrotourism
and the weeding.
No. Agrotourism. Build a career or brand for yourself as someone who is on agrotourism. People would reach out to you. Those who come to Ghana every now and then, they would reach out to you. You book the hotels, meet the farmers, get a van, take them round, make good money from this. I mean, what else can you think about?
Final words, and then, I mean, the venue, the time, restate it.
So my final words is that every young person out there, especially if you're in Ghana, make agriculture or agribusiness your personal case, because it is worth it. It is a rewarding career.
Right.
So for you to find out how to go about it or to start your journey in agriculture or agribusiness, come Wednesday, 29th May, Wednesday.
Just this Wednesday.
This Wednesday, be at Legon, University of Ghana, and then ask them for the ISA Conference Hall. When you come there, you go through the registration process. We do the official launching. Right after the launching, we'll open the portal for registration, those who are interested. And then we'll group them into what they are interested. Exactly. And then the training takes off from there. So that's what
Thank you so much for passing through. Always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much.
And your name there for you. So is this Wednesday? But before we go, a story that all of us have been waiting for. Head of Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology Department of the Pwalugu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Isaac Osei-Kranton, says he's worried about the increasing number of Ghanaian women opting to give birth to elective cesarean section instead of vaginal delivery, even though worrying for him is the reason for the option: pains at birth and expansion of their vagina after delivery.
A trend is coming up where our women, for some reason, they want to be delivered by cesarean section without going into labor. I think it's a very dangerous trend. It's a dangerous trend in that, by the grace of God, cesarean section is very safe nowadays. I mean, compared to part when Julius Caesar and co were living. Now it's safe. But every surgery has a risk. So going for something, as the natural means is by vaginal delivery. But having said that, we should also note the fact that it is not everybody that can deliver vaginally. Because your pelvic is a space. And what is coming through the pelvis should be able to go through the safely. So when there's a reason why the baby's head is bigger than the pelvis, the baby can be there for years. It will never come. It will kill the mother and kill the baby. The reason why women are opting for elective cesarean section without going through labor is the fear of the pain, basically. Most women think they can't stand the labor pain. And of course, my wife has gone through cesarean section. She has gone through labor pain. I cannot tell you, labor pain is not pleasant. I sat with my wife throughout the labor. But the good news about labor... So in such a case, when the doctors request or advises you to go for cesarean section, Don't think that the doctor enjoy holding the knife. Everybody wants to be free. Everyone wants to sit down and read something. But for me to spend time to go to theater, cut and suture and stand on my feet, it's not too pleasant. But because that is safer for you in that case, for instance, if you have high blood pressure, the only cure, high blood pressure due to pregnancy, the only cure is delivery. And the earlier you deliver, the better. If you wait.
Right, so let's get some perspective on this matter briefly. And Dr. Osei Krantin joins me via Zoom. Doctor, good afternoon and welcome to the poll. So educate me. I mean, for women who give birth to the natural means, is there any truth in the fact that they may have enlarged, vagina after going through the natural way? And if you can unmute for me, doctor. We still cannot get to the audio. Doctor, if you can unmute for me, I just want to find out, is there any truth in the fact that by giving birth to the natural way, you end up enlarging your private part? Oh, I guess we'll try and then get the connection sorted out so that we can have a conversation as we begin to wrap up on the pause for this afternoon. And the issue is about cesarean, a natural way of giving birth, the concerns for the two options, whether...
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, doctor. So my question still stands. Okay. Is there any truth in the fact that after going through the natural way, the woman enlarges the private part?
It's not totally true in the sense that the introitus is very expansive. It can expand to any level. Looking at the head of the baby, which is able to go through, tells you how expansile the introitus is. So you will be able to come back to your normal size after delivery, because anything that can expand can also contract.
Right.
So it expands, allow baby to go through. After delivery, it comes back to normal. Having said that, we know that anything that can expand and can also come back to normal position, with time, will not be able to attain its original size. So if you keep giving birth, and especially the babies are big, then with time, you realize that you can't attain the original size, which is a price to pay. But by and large, giving birth to one or two is not going to affect the introitus significantly. Thank you.
But again, the cesarean or natural way, it has its own pros and cons. And I'm sure that medically, you will have to come to a determination whether to allow the person to have cesarean or go to the natural way. I mean, educate us on what circumstances they can be applicable.
Definitely, the natural way to give birth for the baby to come through the introitus, that is natural. But in anything, when we have the natural, there are exceptions to the natural rule. And one of the exceptions is that if the baby is bigger than the passage, no matter what you do, the baby cannot come through. And so if you insist of allowing the baby to come through the introitus, the uterus with time will get tired. And if the uterus gets tired, it will burst or it will rupture and kill the mother and kill the baby. So in such a situation, the best mode of delivery is by cesarean section. And there are other conditions that, for example, the baby is not coming with the head, but the baby is lying across the mother. It's like forming a cross.
Right.
So the baby cannot come through. In such a case, cesarean section is the best. If there are scars on the uterus, and allowing the uterus to expand and contract is going to allow the scar to give way and rupture, then of course, that is why when you have two cesarean sections, it is advisable to have all the remaining deliveries through cesarean section, because that scar is weak and it can rupture. So there are reasons why we allow for cesarean sections. And those reasons are important reasons, and they are reasons whereby if we don't allow for cesarean section and you allow vaginal, there may be consequences either to the mother or to the baby. For instance, the baby is not breathing well in the womb, and the labor is not advanced for the baby to come out within the next minutes to an hour. You have about 4 hours.
a baby who is struggling, who is gasping for breath in the womb, if you allow such a baby to stay, obviously by the time it's time for the baby to come out, the baby would have died. So when we diagnose such a thing during labor, we call it fetal distress. We definitely advise you to allow us to take the baby out so that the baby can breathe fresh air or be resuscitated by the experts for the baby to live. So these are some of the reasons why we do cesarean section, but there are a lot. I mean, they are uncountable.
Right. But Dr. Krante, so therefore, that will be my final question. Will you advise that when pregnant women get to that stage, they should allow the professionals to give the final decision on this, rather than them having an option as to how I want my baby to come out?
Definitely. That is why we go to school. We go to school to learn and to understand the pathophysiology of the things that we do. And I keep telling people, if I assess you and I think that it's not advisable to deliver vaginally, I can't force you. If you disregard my advice and you opt for vaginal delivery, sadly, we've had people losing their babies by not paying heed to the doctor's advice. That's why we need time to explain. And we need time to educate the women why we do cesarean section. Some even for religious purposes. Long time ago, a patient came to in labor, referred from elsewhere, and said that the pastor has said that he should not go under the knife. You know, and the indication for the reason why she had to go under the knife was that the baby was in fetal distress and imminent fetal demise was about to happen. No matter what we told this lady, she refused, and the baby died. And after the death of the baby, having gone through labor and she was tired, now agreed to have the cesarean section. We have to remove a dead baby for her. This is a very pathetic story. So we should.
And do you get more of such religious influence cases at the hospital?
Oh yes, we do. We do get some of these religious cases in the office, not just for cesarean section, for other surgeries, life-saving surgeries. So there has been situations where you need to talk to the pastor, for the pastor to convince the lady before the lady go out. People have died because they refused blood transfusion. I mean, every year, including this year, people have died where the only way out for them to live is to get blood. Their age be 3 point something. Means that it was God who was sustaining them at that time. But they still refused the blood transfusion till they died.
Because the pastor says so.
Yes, because their religious belief will not allow them to take blood. And sometimes the pastor said they shouldn't go for the surgery. So on one or two occasions, we need to call the pastor, explain everything to the pastor. Once the pastor talks to them, they agree. So it's a big issue. Cultural beliefs and religious beliefs have really affected our health delivery in this country.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Krante.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So that's our show, folks. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, stories on myjoyonline.com. Stream cycles for Commission of Inquiry into allegation against the Attorney General. We are not talking about guinea fowl projects, but, projects that will move the country forward. That's Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. You see him, and the NDC flyway, John Dramani Mahama, at the CEO's Summit. Well, that's it. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. It's been exciting having you here on the Monday edition of The Pulse. Tomorrow, same time, Tuesday, we shall be back with another exciting, exclusive edition. Until then, have a good evening. My name is Elton Robe. Take care.